the first ever edition of This Week in Destiny podcast. I don't know if that's entirely what I'm going to name it forever, but this is what I figured I would call it for the first week. The premise of this is that myself and my friend group, today we just have Dwayne, we are going to discuss all of the different topics that have happened from Tuesday reset until now. The time we'll be recording this podcast are Mondays, just before the next reset, so we can do basically a recap of everything that happened. I think this will be a fun way of discussing and debating things within the community, topics that happened on the Tuesday reset, any sort of news that happened, anything that happened in the TWAB, any sort of drama, anything with Xur, anything with trials, you name it, all the topical things, anything that's relevant and trending from Tuesday reset until Monday. We're going to basically lump it into this podcast so we can talk about all the things and have a fun discussion. And we're going to be doing it all live and reading live chat as we do it. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's not live. Instead, this will be on a VOD being posted on YouTube. So if you're watching it there or elsewhere, know that it's live on Twitch. But for now, it's going to be live right now. And we're going to start it, I meant to say. So here we go. This Week in Destiny podcast. My co-host here is Dwayne on Fire. How you doing, Dwayne?
What up? Chilling, doing bounties.
Good. Perfect. Speaking of which bounties, this is actually the first week you need to start if you're going to do your Ascendant challenge, right? This is the first week.
Yep.
So make sure you do that. You have, at the time I'm recording this video, I guess you have like less than a day. So if you want to actually be a maximum nerd bounty prep gamer, this is the week to do your Ascendant challenge and all three characters, or at least start and hold those bounties until next season, which will be helpful, not as much as it has been in the past, I guess, but it'll be helpful in unlocking your artifacts. So that would be a nice thing. But let's start at the beginning. Let's start with the Tuesday reset this week. This Tuesday's reset wasn't as extremely eventful as previous resets necessarily. Obviously, the start of the season is going to be more hyped. We got seasonal story and all kinds of new things going on. However, we did get the new raid challenge. We got the Planets Guide challenge. And at first, we were super confused. And it was the mechanic for it was actually decently challenging. I personally liked it. I know not everyone will like it. Sound off in the chat if you liked it or not. Comment that below. And let's get your thoughts and opinions on the new challenge. Did you like it? Hate it? What did you like? What did you think of it?
I mean, I thought it was cool, just like how kind of hectic it made it, but it also just slowed the encounter down, which is...
It did.
Those are always the lame ones where it slows the encounter down and forces you to like 2-phase instead of 1-phase mechanics, but...
It did slow the encounter down. Yeah, it did slow the encounter down. And for anyone out there watching, I'll explain the planet encounter if you don't know what we're talking about. In the raid, Root of Nightmares, you got the planets guy. And normally what happens is you have the light side and the dark side. When you walk in, you'll see the two orbs up in the sky, the light side and the dark side. And you're trying to take usually the odd man out on either top or bottom on the left or right and take it to the other side. But for the challenge, you have to take the other two. So basically, it's reversing it. And it's called Equilibrium Challenge. And it was actually pretty tough. It did make the encounter maybe twice as long as you would ordinarily do it, because if you had a good team, you would just grab the right orbs and just run a double run back and forth and then, get to damage phase. So instead you had to do double running. So in regards to raid challenges, I think that what I dislike the most in raid challenges, and some people will hate this, what I dislike the most is when the raid challenge is just do the encounter as you've already been doing it, like we have with others, because I think that's just lazy development. I know people out there will be like, what? It's just free loot then. Why would you hate that? But I think that that's just lazy development. Like when the mechanic, the add mechanic doesn't add anything, I think that's the worst. I think this...
Like non-existent.
Yeah, the non-existent challenge I dislike the most. The second one I like is on the opposite of the spectrum of that, which is that I dislike when it makes the encounter twice, 3 times, 4 times as lengthy. There's been some raid challenges where you normally would do a 1 phase, but you had to do 3. I'm trying to think of which one was like the most tedious. Can you think of those?
The Scourge third encounter where you're running underneath.
Oh my god, yeah.
You had to 4-phase it every time.
Yeah.
So annoying.
That was painful.
We just stopped doing it because it
took
just so much longer.
Like this is not even worth it. Yeah, I remember that. There's been a few raid challenges that were just so tedious. I greatly dislike that. What this one does, though, it does add a little more time, but man, it is a pretty tough. You have to really know your stuff well. And to get done master, we were trying to do carries. I failed to do a few carries because we had just so many new people and so many people less experienced. I failed a few times. We had a ton of successful ones too. It It really was based on like,
imagine that for people that aren't super comfortable in that room, that's a hard challenge.
yeah, you basically had to have had experience being a runner on at least multiple sides to some degree. I feel like you could figure it out if you're smart and have played quite a bit, but it was tough. It was very tough. We were doing a bunch of carries and we failed a few runs, but for the most part, we got people through when we were doing that, and I had a lot of fun doing it because I was like, this is the reason why you need good builds. This is the reason why you need god rolls. You didn't have to have the most perfect build with all god rolls necessarily, but it made a significant difference because if the ad clear got out of hand just a little bit and you're running that the planet, the light to the dark side or whatever it may be, and you died or whatever happened, like it would just be a complete wipe, and it was tough. It was very tough. So for me, I thought it was a good challenge. I thought it was actually very challenging. I'm looking forward to next week's, which is called All Hands, and it's the Nezarec challenge. We still don't know what it will be. I'm definitely looking forward to that. And a quick side note that people are typing in the chat, they're saying the Strand sidearm people kept showing up saying that I'm going to do anti-barrier sidearm. I'm like, you need to stop. I don't like to be forceful in having people use the meta unless we're doing challenging content. It's like if we're doing strikes, dude, use whatever. Use triple bows. I don't care. Like, what do you mean? Like, just we're doing strikes. It's fine. I mean, I'd still encourage to kind of beat the strike faster, but like, yeah, if you want to use triple bows, use triple bows, But in the master stuff, I made a post that went viral on Twitter. I was just like, if you're doing a master raid, use come in with the presumption of efficiency, which I think is an interesting term that I never really used or thought of before. But as I was thinking, I was like, you either have the presumption of having fun, like using your Strand sidearm, or you have the presumption of, I actually want to beat this and I want to beat it fast. Because even though Destiny's a game and you're just meant to play and have fun, there is definitely a solid element to, like, you want to beat the encounter, especially when you're with randoms. Like, if you're with a bunch of random people you don't know, then beating the encounter slowly or not beating it at all is frustrating, I thought of this analogy, and you guys are going to laugh at this, I feel like, but this is the analogy I could give, so that way people finally, it gets through to their head, because a lot of people are like, no, Destiny's just a game. It's not that serious. So it's like, imagine I picked 24 people out there watching the stream right now or watching this video, whatever it may be. And I said to the 24 people out there, together, we are going to build a house for charity, like we're going to build a house, and I fly you guys all out to wherever. And I say, but bring your best tools. And person number 1 shows up with a hammer and a bucket of nails. I'm like, excellent. Person number 2 shows up with a bunch of lumber. And I'm like, perfect. Person number 3 shows up with an electric drill. I'm like, okay, good. I mean, we probably need that. Person number 4 has a full-on tool belt. I'm like, tool belt? Like, look at all these different crazy tools you got on here. Person number 5 shows up with a ping pong paddle and a ping pong ball. I'm like, what are you doing? You're the guy with, we're trying to build a house here. We're trying to do something efficient. Like, we need to get this beat. He's like, and then their defense is, well,
works for me.
Works for me. I built 3 houses before, and I brought this, and it worked just fine. And I'm like,
he's hammering the nails with his ping pong paddle.
I know, like, what do you mean it works for you? Like, yeah, all that means, if you're using the Strand sidearm or if you're using crap loadouts or crap weapons, is that your team carried you through that challenging content. Your team was so good, so efficient, that they made up for your slack. And you might wipe on the end of the screen and have a good amount of kills or something, because and the other part that's frustrating, if people wipe at the end of the screen and they see they're like, oh, but look, I cleared all these ads and stuff. And it's like, true, you may have cleared all ads, which means that you're actually efficient at using like crap weapons. How much more efficient would you be if you used like the good stuff too, And there's just all these different explanations that people give, and I'm just like, don't be the guy that shows up with the fucking ping pong ball. Don't be that guy. Like, don't do that. Like, we're trying to do something genuinely challenging. Like, I think that this raid challenge, 6-man activity, is on Master is the most challenging thing you can do right now in Destiny 2, which means you better show up with the best stuff you got, because it's not easy. I sat in there for one run. We were in there for over an hour. We were in there for well over an hour. We couldn't even beat it, And I had everyone spec'd out. I said, guys, Arbalist. I had everyone on Arbalist and solar trace rifles, swap into solar pulse rifles when necessary. All warlocks. Their all had rockets for damage. You name it. Everything was perfect. We still just couldn't beat it because the mechanics are that tough and that solid. So Anyways, that's my little rant about handling the raid challenge, because next week's going to be Nezarec raid challenge. It may be much more difficult than the planet one. I doubt it, because that planet one was brutal, but it may be Nezarec challenge, and it could be the shotgun, which means if it is the shotgun, everyone's going to want to do it, and you're going to want to show up with a solid loadout for that challenge. We'll see how challenging it is, though. I'm looking forward to it. Next up, we'll be talking about the TWAB that came out this Thursday. So that was the Tuesday reset and everything. Let me know. Do you think I missed anything from Tuesday reset that was eventful? You think of?
We got GMs, but
GMs, yes, GMs. And we got our Conqueror seals. That was definitely an interesting one. Which GM did you think was the most difficult?
Probably just Battlegrounds.
Yeah, Mars
Battlegrounds.
Battlegrounds.
It's not that hard when you know how it works, but
yeah,
still pretty tough.
Yeah, it was. Everyone says Mars is rough. They're wanting a Mars Battleground guide and stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I had to give a loose guide of it, again, it's just the same thing as like the Master Challenge. It's like you got to show up with the right builds, show up with the right weapons. And positioning is really key, and being efficient using those. If you're on the Warlock with the Starfire, a lot of people put that on. I don't know if they're using it right, if they're spamming grenades as much as they could be, and they're empowering rifts and all that. Make sure you're just being really efficient, clearing those ads fast. And when stuff hits the fan, though, I will say when shit starts to hit the fan, it goes downhill fast because someone dies, and you're just like, oh shit, like I don't know how to recover from this. It gets
big
bad.
thing that makes it a lot easier is just one person like holding the boss aggro. Like if you go up in that spot that we always go to, you just have a Warlock sit there, just like damage the boss and just hold him there. The other people can just run around and like kill the wizards and kill all the knights.
True.
It makes it, much more simple.
There's a cheese spot too. I saw if you walk in and go straight to the left.
You like jump up in the ceiling.
Yeah,
like 8 different spots.
I don't recommend the cheese because I think
crazy.
it feels more satisfying to beat it without. But if you're desperate for that Conqueror seal, I suppose. But it's I thought it was okay. Like I thought they had a pretty solid lineup of challenging GMs, so I thought that was pretty cool. Next up, we did everything on Tuesday, so we'll talk about the TWAB. They did a whole Cronus and Zim thing where they said that they're actually going to be. For me, when I read the whole article in the TWAB, it was kind of like they're going to be banning people that are abusing Cronus and Zim that aren't actually, suffering from any sort of physical ailment or needing accessibility issues, which it sounds good on paper. You're like, oh, cool, they're going to get them, these Cronus cheaters and stuff, which maybe they have a solid system of knowing that and doing that. But the problem is, I wonder how they're going to know if your Cronus Zen is used for the recoil control or if it's used for the other stuff, just using a mouse and keyboard or whatever it may be. Hopefully they actually have some serious systems set in place for that. But
I don't know if they can tell if you're like using the anti-recoil, however that works. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or if it's just like, his mouse and keyboard is just plugged into it. But even then, it's like you have aim assist on it, so it's still, not.
Yeah, which still doesn't even entirely make sense. Like if you had like, I'm trying to think of how this even makes sense. Like if you had an accessibility issue and you're using a mouse and keyboard on a console, right? The only input device that's lacking in accessibility is you can't use a mouse and keyboard on a console. Then would you be therefore allowed to also manipulate the recoil? Like you're like, hey, I'm missing both my thumbs or something, or I have arthritis or whatever it may be, right? Like do you also get to control that recoil? Like it just seems so odd. And I personally thought that this was like a huge Bungie L in their approach to this. And some people were celebrating it because it sounds like they're doing the right thing. But if you actually look at what they're doing, I think they're actually doing the wrong thing because Call of Duty just outright banned the device. They just said...
I think the blanket decision is just better because it's so hard to like pick and choose what you can and can't do and, get nitpicky with it. I think the blanket you can't use it is just better.
I agree. Because one, you have the support or the reasoning that Call of Duty also has made the same decision, and no game studio or development is against accessibility. No one's like trying to get people out of the game that have disabilities or anything like that. It's just it's a cheating device, and it's used as that. It's advertised as that. It gives increased aim assist. It gives reduction of recoil. It's used for cheating. And the problem is that whatever their working definition is of how they're going to ban people would be so problematic in so many ways, because let's just say someone has a really high KD because they can detect that they're using a Zim or Cronus. Well, what's to say they're not just good? Like, what's to say they're not just good? Like, they could be good and have a disability. Like, there are people, we've seen people that play with like crazy modified Zim controllers, and people have no hands and people have no thumbs, or whatever it may be. Like, they could be good. So you can't just ban people like because they have a high KD and play on Cronus, There's just no way of, like, you're just walking a very thin line there. And I made this post that did well on Twitter as well, comparing this, where I said, like, basically this is just a cheating device, and it doesn't make any sense to have this when there are just PlayStation and Xbox accessibility devices. There's literally just, you plug them in, and they're shaped in such a way that if you have arthritis, or if you're missing thumbs or limbs, like, I mean, we'd almost have to create some categories of like what are accessibility issues that people have when gaming. But like, I imagine the majority of them are, missing of limbs, or I don't know, appendages, right? Their fingers, whatever it may be, or arthritis or something of that nature, right? I just sort of lump all those together as being, those are the accessibility issues. Like, these accessibility devices are perfect for people. Perfect. They're made for this thing. And yet we allow people to use cheating devices to play the game for the sake of accessibility, which just does not make any sense. I made the analogy of, like, would you allow someone that's blind? Like, there's a guy who plays Destiny, his name's Blind Gamer Steve, right? Blind Gamer Steve. Would you allow him to have wall hacks because he's blind? Like, like, it's not even a question, right? Like, we wouldn't just be like, oh,
wouldn't do anything for him.
Yeah, I mean, he's legally blind. He can see some things. Like, he sees, he's legally blind. He's not like full blind, right? I'm saying.
Gotcha.
And so, and I don't know the exact extent, but like in his case, you wouldn't be like, well, because he's legally blind, we wouldn't just give him wall hacks. Like, giving him cheats is not the right play. You don't just give them cheats, I'm saying, just because someone has an accessibility issue, Yeah. And so the same way, why would we give someone a cheating software to do that? And the only case that could ever be used for Zim that's a fair one is that you can't play mouse and keyboard on console. Because right now, there's only two input devices for Destiny. There's mouse and keyboard on PC, and there's controller on PC. Both have functionality. And then on console, there's controller, but they don't allow mouse and keyboard, which is also a strange thing, that they're like, we're going to allow mouse and keyboard through Zim for accessibility, but we're not just going to give you mouse and keyboard support, which doesn't make any sense. Like, just give mouse and keyboard support. That makes that right there is the most bizarre response ever. Like, we're going to let you use mouse and keyboard on console for accessibility, but we're not going to just let people use mouse and keyboard on console in general. It's like, you're creating such a strange line right there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
if you were able to play mouse and keyboard on console, if they chose to do that, then anyone using a Zim is just using it to cheat.
Yeah.
There's no other reason to use one.
Yes, exactly. And the part I find interesting, and it's getting into a little bit of a hot topic here, which is that, does the ability for people to play mouse and keyboard on console, is that actually giving them more accessibility? Which to unpopular opinion, people can roast me for this, I don't agree with. I don't think that anyone out there, I don't think there's actually a legitimate person out there in the world that needs to play mouse and keyboard over controller due to physical limitations. I know some people will disagree. They'll be like, I can't, like, mouse and keyboard is like using both your arms and your wrist and everything. And the controller
is so much easier.
It's literally like
the aim assist and everything.
Like, we've seen people who, there's the guy 86 Hands who plays Destiny. He doesn't even have like arms, and he plays with a controller, like, that's the accessibility device. The controller is more accessible. If you claim that you need to play a mouse and keyboard, even still though, you say, I can't do it. So you're going to play on a controller and then buy a $300 device instead of going onto PC and playing mouse and keyboard, which is still an odd response. But even still, you shouldn't be allowed to use a cheating device to accommodate for your accessibility. Like, it's a tough issue to talk about, I know. But if you are truly of like, hey, I'm missing thumbs, maybe you're a war veteran, maybe something happened crazy to you, like, whatever it may be. Maybe you're very elderly, maybe you got, like I said, arthritis. You got to use the accessibility devices. Those are meant for you. Those are probably going to feel way better anyways. Like, I don't even understand how we come up to the conclusion of using a cheating device. Like, how did we come to that conclusion? But
yeah,
I found the whole thing to be very odd, and I don't understand. Like, I think Bungie, in their efforts to be kind to accessibility, are willing to just ruin Crucible to a certain degree. They're just like, yeah, you know what, fuck it, And it's just strange. It's just strange because
this doesn't really make sense at all. Like,
it doesn't.
You're on console and you want to play M&K.
Yeah.
Instead of buying the $300 Cronus, just buy a PC and play on there.
Yes,
or they
exactly.
add mouse and keyboard support to console, which I guess they should just do anyway.
That's what I'm saying. They should add mouse and keyboard support to console if they're going to allow Cronus. Or if you can afford a PS5 and a $300 Zen, you probably should just buy a PC if you're like, I cannot play on a controller. Which also, I just want to know, like, maybe someone can comment down below so that I can correct my ignorance if I am. But what physical ailment is it that someone would have that would not allow them to be able to play a controller, but would allow them to play mouse and keyboard? Because I've played both. I'm in my mid-30s. I've grown up with controllers and mouse and keyboard my whole life. And I can tell you right now, mouse and keyboard objectively is a more physically demanding input device. Like, you have to move both your arms and, like, by a long shot. There is not.
You need all your fingers on both your hands. You need to move your arm a lot.
You literally have to use everything. When I started to use mouse and keyboard myself, I felt physical pain because my fingers had never done all of this, like, stretching out. Like, you have to stretch out and push
all the little minute muscles you don't use.
You're like pushing WASD, and then you're pushing F, and then you're trying to push like R and T and all these other crazy stuff. You're like, my fingers aren't long enough. I need like fucking Kawhi Leonard type hands, like fucking my fingers physically hurt playing mouse and keyboard. So there's like, I don't think there is a physical ailment that anyone can be like, I have this physical ailment and therefore I can't play a controller. I have to play mouse and keyboard and therefore have to use the Zim and can only afford to play on console. I'm like, even if there is that one person out there, it's just not like, the cheating device can't be the solution to that. And so I think Bungie will maybe update their policy eventually, but the problem is that there's no, like, you're fighting against the boogeyman because there's no like well-known streamers that are doing this. It's just you lose a gunfight and you're like, that guy beamed me, and you're like, you can't see their gameplay, you can't watch their streams, you never know. And there's these guys that we know play controller, we see their crazy high stats and we wonder, we question, we played the boogeyman game, the cheating game, we're like, I wonder if they're using a Zim. They're on controller and last season their KD was way less, and so like it's a lot of witch hunting, and it's frustrating because we turn against each other as a community. It's hard to see. I've seen a lot of people tweet lately, these high stat controller players saying, I'm not using a Zim. I know everyone's accusing me, but I'm not using a Zim. And it's a really sticky situation there.
Yeah, it sucks for people that are actually good. Even people that are like really good on M&K, I'm sure they get that all the time too. Like, people think they're cheating because they just don't miss. And when you play an M&K player that doesn't miss, it feels like they're cheating. Yeah. It does.
True.
And especially if you're a lower skill player, the accusations get thrown around left and right.
Absolutely.
Like, oh, this guy's cheating. There's no way.
The difference between a low skill player playing a cheater and a low skill player playing a high skill player is marginal. Like, the experience is almost the same. They're just like, I just walked out and I died. I don't understand. And it's like,
instantly. I didn't even see him.
It's like, like they don't have awareness of their.
The problem is that there's these, especially now with all the Cronus and just the cheaters that are still there, which there isn't very many like actual cheaters nowadays, which is good, but just like sowing the seeds of doubt into people whenever they lose a gunfight. It's like, I'll just blame it on them cheating,
Yeah, it's tough. And the community, as soon as they fix this, let's say they banned it anyways, the community would continue to tear each other apart in other ways. I'm sure. I'm not saying that this is going to solve all, but one thing that I have been very attentive of is paying attention to what this has affected the Call of Duty community. I've followed a few people on Twitter and seen what happened, and there's a bunch of different controversies with certain people using Cronus and stuff. And so after their device got banned and all of that, and so it's interesting to see how the effect of it happened over there, and it would be interesting to see what would happen if it was banned in Destiny. And I think it should be. I think it's the right thing to do. But until it is, there's going to be people that are going to abuse it. And I would love to see what the criteria is when Bungie bans someone. You have a 3.5 KD in trials, and we registered you're using a Zim. It's like, okay, then what happens when they say they actually have an ailment? Like maybe they have a doctor's order, maybe they have a micro penis. I don't know, like whatever ailment they need to use the freaking Zim, right? So who's to say, what their ailment is going to be, what their reasoning is going to be, right? This one person types in chat saying, I have arthritis and Raynaud's in my hands where my blood circulation doesn't go around my fingers all the time and they turn white and cold, and I still use a controller on PS5. Well, see, that's the thing. If you had arthritis and you have the blood circulation problem, you would think you'd want to, I think, I'm not an expert on blood circulation, but if you had a controller in your hand, you could hold your controller down low and then the blood would, get to your hands better, right? Like if you held your hands up in the air, or if you played up here with the mouse and keyboard, the circulation isn't going to be as easy. It's going to be a lot better for you.
You have to have pretty strict posture playing M&K.
Yeah, you sit up, right? Well. Yeah. And your hand, like I imagine your hands would probably go more numb. Like I can't think of a single physical ailment that someone would have where they actually like I don't even know what it would be. Like what would because mouse and keyboard is just so much more demanding physically. It's so much more demanding. Mm-hmm. It is. So anyways, we'll move on from that, and I'll read your thoughts down in the comments as well. Next up, we have Trials is getting their new matchmaking. Apparently in week 8, we're getting this new matchmaking, which is very interesting. We're going to be doing the practice pool, and then we have the challenger pool. So we got week 8 and week 11 of season 20. They're doing the Trials labs, and it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out. And I'm not sure if that has the 2 mercies going along with it. I think the 2 mercies, as a reminder, the upgrades to the passages, Wealth and Mercy, and the changes to the Guild of Flawless requirements will not be live on these weekends. Those will come in season 21. Got it. So that's an interesting note from the TWAB. So we're going to get a taste of the matchmaking. It's going to be called the practice pool, which is basically like the non-flawless pool that you can't manipulate. You can't just stay in the non-flawless pool by wiping your card. They'll detect it somehow and throw you in the flawless, or the challenger pool rather. And so it's smart. As with all systems in any game, it starts off very strict and simple, and then people, find ways to manipulate it, and then they have to create more intricate systems. And that's what this is. It was a black and white flawless pool and non-flawless pool starting on Sunday and Monday. That didn't work, so now they're advancing it to a practice pool and a challenger pool. And I think this will actually work out really well. It's going to feel a little frustrating from now until season 21, though. But once season 21 launches, everyone's going to have 2 mercies, and that's going to feel really nice. Getting their first flawless, and be like, holy crap.
Yeah, 2 mercies will be really good for most people.
I know some people out there are like, but I can't even get 3 wins. Yeah,
because I feel like a lot of the higher skill players aren't going to like this system because it's going to feel like flawless pool kicks in sooner, right?
Yeah.
When you're in the harder pool with the people that get there fast, it's going to be like, oh, it feels like flawless pool is active on Friday.
Yeah.
And it is. They're not going to like it. But when you have 2 mercies, then you have a lot more room to play around in.
Yeah. You're right. That's actually really, I'm sure Bungie had that insight. Like they're thinking of actively ways of improving the system one way, but then also understanding that disaffects the other side. So let's help them too, If we're going to adjust Trials, we need to make sure that the low end players are helped up, and we want more people to get flawless. That should be the goal. But then we also don't want the people that actually like Trials and play PvP every day to be like, Trials sucks now and it's not fun for me to play. You want them to keep playing too. So
yeah.
And
it's still going to have that weird feeling of not it isn't obviously skill-based matchmaking, but it is going to feel like that on Friday,
Yeah, it's going to be weird.
Only playing sweaty teams on Fridays. It's going to be all day on Friday.
I don't know.
Real sweaty.
When it launches, you're going to be in the practice pool. Everyone's
going to start in the practice pool, yeah. But then an hour in, all the people that made it flawless are going to be in the flawless pool, and everyone else isn't.
Yeah.
You're only matching those people.
That's what I'm saying. It's almost
for the next hour until another group of people make it flawless.
Right now, it's the first card on Friday is super sweaty, but it might be the first card is kind of chill, and then the second card is rough.
Yeah.
And then the third card is rough, and then the fourth, and then maybe around the fifth, it starts to loosen up. After about 5 hours in, 6 hours in, and then beyond that, it's probably just going to be the same throughout the whole weekend. Comparable at least, which I'm cool with.
I wonder what they're doing with the loot structure, because now it's when you get in flawless pool, you can just farm a 7-win and then get losses. But now it's not a thing anymore, so I don't know how that works. Yeah,
we've been farming for the. Wow, that's actually going to kind of screw people over that didn't get the adept. I just realized, holy crap! Right. Oh no! Oh, wow. What is that going to do? Maybe if you went flawless, you'll still, if you stay on that card, that same system would apply, right? Maybe, I don't know what's going to happen.
I would like them to make it like it used to be when it first came out, where if you're just on a flawless card and you're playing on 7, you can just get drops. That's how it should be.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they'll actually do that. Because it might go back to just, you have to farm like lighthouse runs to get loot.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with that. That would be definitely problematic. So if you don't know what they're talking about, to clarify for the chat and everyone out there watching, right now, like what we did when the Adept SMG came in, I'm blanking, the Immortal SMG. When that came in, what you did on the first few days, Friday and Saturdays, you just go to the lighthouse, wipe your card, go to the lighthouse, or go to the lighthouse and then lighthouse and turn your card in, yeah, if you have the materials. And then when Flawless Pool kicked in on Sunday, though, it's a different system. It's a different loot structure. And so what you do is you keep your Flawless card or your 7-win card, and every time you play on that, if you win, you get a chance at the SMG. So people were just, farming in the Flawless Pool a ton to try and get as many SMG drops as possible. Well, if there's no Flawless Pool starting week 8, then what happens now? How do you farm that now? And we're going to find out. I think that we have not gotten any insight from the TWABs or anything, so we're about to go in almost blind to that, which is funny to think about. I think that Bungie would probably have to tweet at the Destiny 2 team and see what they say, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think the system in the Flawless Pool right now is really good, where you just play on a flawless card as long as it, went flawless first. No matter how many losses, you can just keep playing. You can keep getting loot.
Yeah, it is
keep
good.
People in the playlist.
It is a really nice perk especially for those that are good. So it gives a lot of replayability. It's kind of what you want is it's a very hard playlist to make everyone happy. Obviously, you can think about how the nightmare is, how do we get people of low skill and people of extremely high skill with tons of free time to both play in the same playlist against each other sometimes, It's like, wait a minute, that's hard to do, but that Flawless Pool feature keeps a lot of people playing, like, especially when the loot is good, which is another thing that needs to be addressed. There needs to be like really good loot in trials regularly if you want to keep those numbers up high, because right now it's like the SMG is epic. Shotgun's good. I don't know if I'm really too excited for anything else. You excited for anything?
Armor's always been, bad. They could just make it like Artifice armor.
They should make it Artifice armor.
Higher stat even.
Artifice armor for going to the Lighthouse. I don't understand why that's not a thing. That would be awesome. That would be...
They should just rotate the weapons more often, too.
Yeah. It'd be crazy and so super busted. Like, I have like raid armor with raid perks. Imagine Trials armor has like PvP perks. Like,
we're going to get back into a Gambit Prime situation.
Yeah.
Dangerous talk.
That would be bad. Like, if you had one that, like, I don't even know, like...
An overshield. Yeah. Spawn in.
Well, maybe stuff like that, but, like, I feel like stuff that's always been
like
quick draw.
More, you get more tokens or you get more Ascendant shards.
Yeah, it could be more loot structure. Now, that would actually be epic. Yeah, then you would rock a whole trial set and you actually, like... See, that would actually be the play. Yeah, don't break PvP with it. Don't do that, actually. Like, don't add, like, quick draw or, like, I don't know, like, increased slide distance fucking boots. Yeah. Could you imagine increased slide distance legendary boots? Something crazy like that. Like,
that'd be crazy.
Every piece, that would be busted.
Wearing Synthoceps with just legendary boots to give you slide distance.
Yeah. Armor gives you an extra mercy. 3 mercies. Can you imagine? The year is 2050 and you have to go...
7 mercies.
You got 7 mercies. Like, go flawless. Go flawless. It's just so funny. Even the idea of mercy is funny for the title flawless. I feel like we should just pick a different title than flawless if we're going to give people 2 mercies. Like, that's, like flawless is like you don't lose. Like, but I mean, I like that people go to the Lighthouse. We should just call it going to the Lighthouse or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But sweating is what we'll call it. So we got the Zin, we got Tuesday Reset, the Raid Challenge, TWAB, Zim, Cronus Debate, Trials. Zur came this week and they fixed his armor, which was nice. I appreciated that. There was nothing still that good to grab, and I mean, it's not Artifice armor. Zur should just randomly have 1 Artifice armor slot. Why not? Let's just start giving out more Artifice armor. Also, what if there was like, right now Artifice armor gives like +3 to each slot. What if there was like a slight tweak in different artifice armor that like gave +2s and +1s, you know, like legendary armor randomly dropped and it would have that +1 stat sitting there or something. I don't know. Like, I love the +3 of artifice, but I feel like the leap from artifice to everything else is like, it's so drastic. I'm just like, artifice or nothing, you know? Like, it doesn't have to quite be that way. There should just be like Xur's +2 armor. But,
I mean, especially now, artifice armor is like harder to come by than it was when we farmed it. You know?
Yeah, it is.
Now, like doing master content is like harder than it was, even with surges and stuff.
Somewhat. I saw people farming the master boss with, it's like rocket surge or something, right? So that's what I think they were saying. It was like rocket surge, and they were just farming the boss like crazy. I was like, damn, that sounds free for artifice armor. But obviously, there's also the artifice armor cheese that everyone's doing with Garon and stuff. So
yeah, but it's also like artifice armor isn't like that much better, right? Like it is better, but you know, a couple tiers of stats is kind of whatever, right? If you just go to the helm and turn in 10 umbrals and get like, you know, a good setup of armor, then it's not like you need artifice armor.
Yeah, you don't need it. It does feel really nice though, and I noticed that like I don't know if it's just losing out on powerful friends and radiant light, but like I noticed my builds are a little tighter to get like what I want, and I'm like, you know, I don't have triple 100 as often as I maybe would want. Like right now in trials, like my Titan, I want like 100 recovery, 100 reseal, and then I want 100 intellect. I don't quite get that as often as I'd like, but I also want discipline too. So it's like dang it.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
you just go like 7s.
Yeah, 7s is not bad. And that's actually where I'm sitting at right now. But I like it. I mean, +12. You know, it's not the most game breaking thing. I mean, it would be crazy if they went higher. Could you imagine if it was +5s in that slot?
Right.
Sheesh, you get +20 stats, +2 different stats. That could get out of hand really fast. I mean, I could see things getting to that point because of power creep or just, you know, trying to incentivize new things. But
yeah, it's hard to make armor, you know, enticing when people have all their god rolls and it doesn't get sunset.
Yeah, well, and then also without having to add, I imagine it's hard because you'd have to add so much developmental effort to even make the raid armor work as it does with the release recover and stuff like that. Like all this, like that's like an entire new system created within this armor that activates instantaneously when you just put this thing on, you know, like it's probably a lot of developmental effort to make this armor some, but it would be cool to see what the future holds for different armor types. Cause obviously artifice is sick, but there's so many different variations of things they could do besides that. It doesn't have to just be +3. They could do so much more.
What if they make artifice exotics? Any exotics you get from a master activity or artifice?
Now you're talking crazy talk. That would be wild. We got Xur covered, and now the last bit we're going to talk about is drama. Someone ring the bell. We got some drama. This one was interesting. This will be the last topic we cover for today, which was I was just outside getting some sun, touching some grass, and I open up my phone and I see Destiny 2 team tweeted out something like, "We take NDAs seriously, and someone breached the trust," and you know all of this. And I was like, "What?" I was like they didn't name anyone, and obviously we're going to be naming people in this, and there's no name and shaming here, no witch hunting here, but we're obviously talking about content creator Equagan or Equagan. I think I've been saying his name wrong.
Yeah.
I think it's Equagan. I've been saying it wrong. My bad. I'm just gonna say EK. That's simple. I won't mess that up. But this thing has turned into easily one of the biggest drama controversies ever. And I mean, I've been here since the beginning. We've seen all the drama. The Destiny community, they love their drama. That's why we have an entire drama series talking about all this crazy stuff. But this one has really manifested into something big. And I did not expect any of this. So the first thing I saw was that tweet. And then obviously Twitter. Twitter is just a witch hunt app. Twitter, they could just rename it to just Twitter, the witch hunt app. Because as soon as that happened, everyone was digging deep. They're digging their claws in. Who was it? Who was it? Who was it? And no one knows who goes to these summits. So like that's confidential. Before they used to send you out to their location. And that was obviously really expensive. If you think about it, flights from out of country, potentially. They're flying people from the UK all the way to Seattle, paying for your hotel multiple days, paying for your food and everything. And now it's like online is like, that's way cheaper. So they just do it online now. So we don't know who's going. The witch hunt began, and then everyone, you know, started pointing fingers at EK and them, and then we get his response and everything. And that's where things got crazy, I will say. Now the end result, before we dive in too much, the end result right now is that Bungie did their research, saw that the taskbar on the bottom of his PC matched the screenshots that were shared. And from what we know now, at least, we're not going to get any more information from Bungie because they're not trying to feed the drama or the beef or whatever. They're, that's their smoking gun that he was the one that shared these videos and these images with leakers. And we got Paul Tassi's article. We got all these people speaking out in EK's favor, all of his friends, and it's turned into a real thing, and a real big drama issue. I want to start from the beginning and ask, what are your thoughts on all of this? What do you think happened?
Either way, it doesn't make any sense.
Got it.
One, why would EK take the screenshot? He clearly would remember what was said in the meeting. He didn't need the screen.
True.
Right?
True.
And also, why would he risk the NDA and everything else by taking the screenshots? He has nothing to gain and everything to lose. It doesn't make any sense, right?
It makes no sense.
On the opposite side of the coin, why would someone take the screenshots and then go fake his taskbar on them to frame him for doing it? It makes no sense on that side either.
They were anonymous.
So I really just don't understand.
Yeah,
it makes no sense.
This would be I don't even know what's the most infamous fucking frame job ever, this would be a bar, on the level of that.
Right. They copied his entire desktop home screen and his taskbar. Just for the sole purpose of framing him for no reason. They could have just said it wasn't them when whoever tried to get exposed for leaking them in the first place if it wasn't him.
Yeah. It's just there must be when I've watched many different, documentaries and murder mysteries and all this crazy stuff, there must be a missing element somewhere around here that we don't quite see, because it truly doesn't make sense either way. As someone that has signed this NDA many times and has gone to these events, I can't talk about the details of them, obviously, or else I'm going to be sitting here, with a not so fast. But what I can say is that there's also as the content creator, there was never an incentive or an idea of me trying to record with my phone. I never thought about that. I wasn't even seeing anything that was that interesting anyways. They're not showing you the new raid or something. You know what I'm saying? They're not and you would remember all this stuff anyways if you wanted to just tell your friends, if you wanted to be oh, not to mention there was one of these summits that was a funny one that I kept laughing at, which was back in before 2020. They invited Real Crafty and they invited Dr. Lupo too, and I'm okay, they're obviously bringing back Trials of Osiris. I wasn't invited, but I was why would you guys invite Real Crafty to the summit unless you're bringing back Trials? You know? And I remember I ironically made a bunch of posts saying Trials of Osiris is coming back, because of that. I didn't break an NDA, but then it did come back, and I remember having this weird feeling of thinking to myself, oh God, I kind of was without knowing, leaking information, kind of I didn't actually realize that Trials was coming out. I was joking that it was going to come out, but it actually did come out, and I was what the hell? I thought they would come out. I didn't think they would come out with Trials of Osiris. That was the reason why it was so weird to me. I thought it was because D1 was Trials of Osiris, D2 was Trials of the Nine. I was oh, they'll come out with, I forget what we were saying at the time. We were saying Trials of something else, Trials of someone else or something else. And we were naming it something else at the time, but it ended up literally being Trials of Osiris, and it was so strange. And so the whole idea, he's signed 4 different NDAs, it does not make sense for him to share this at all. It truly doesn't. His response, the one thing I will want to say though, that it's I like EK, and I'm not friends, I'm not trying to burn bridges or anything. I just think that his response on social media was a very odd one. I don't know why. I almost want to be a PR person for some of these people when they go through, the crisis management or something. Because I feel his response was from what we saw, and I don't have the full picture, but it was he posted this clip saying the studio made a decision, I'm not playing anymore. And I was that's kind of odd. And then he posted another tweet, and he's all these people have wronged me and stuff like that. And I never think about these people that have wronged me, or sometimes I think about the people who have wronged me or something like that. And I'm that's kind of vague. And then afterwards, he responds to that saying, I did not leak anything. I'm like, you should have led with that. Right. Why didn't you lead with that? Like, what is all this?
Like a day before the Destiny 2 team, and he said it was a good run with a screenshot of like all his GM time.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And everyone in the Twitter comments was like, what do you mean it was a good run?
What does that mean?
Before, and everyone was like so confused.
Like, GMs are coming back.
Why would you tweet that the day before GMs come out?
Like, this is your thing. Like, this is like his identity is the GM guy. Like, he is the GM guy. Like, that's him. You know, like a lot of different content creators have their like core identity thing that we associate them with. And that's his thing. Like, he's the GM guy. So we were like, that was very perplexing. And I was piecing the stuff together and I was like, what? Like, I'll draw a different analogy to compare my response because I think that it helps explain. And like when Bakken Gangsta was, because we've gone through so much drama in this community, right? When Bakken Gangsta, and I won't go on this tangent for too long, but when Bakken Gangsta got accused of cheating, right? He was like, why did I get banned? I didn't cheat. And then he got the biggest dunk ever when like DMG was like, you did cheat, and we've double checked. And so he just got dunked on, and he came to me and he was like DMing me and was like, oh, well, I didn't actually cheat. So like, can you help me like prove my innocence? And I was like, dude, you gotta fight this. You gotta be like, have your PC scanned by an expert. You gotta, I don't know, go take a lie detector test. You gotta like do everything you can, like prove. Like I literally was like, you gotta like prove this. And his response was just like, he just didn't do anything. And he just he kept uploading a few videos here and there. Like every 3 months he uploads like a random YouTube video and everyone just comments you're a cheater on it and everything. And everyone just kind of went with it. And I'm like, for me, with crisis management and stuff like that, and like if you're guilty, that's how you do it. You just like, yeah, whatever, you know. You don't fight it hard enough, you know. But like if I got banned, I would be fighting that shit hard. Like if it was wrongfully so, right? I would be fighting it so hard. I would just be like, Bungie has banned me and I've done nothing wrong. Like I would, that's the energy you got to have with that. If you are innocent, you know?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make sense to be chill in that moment. Like, especially when it's your whole career, you know, like, he can go on and stream other games and have a great career in other things. Like, everyone can, but clearly, you know, Destiny has been his career and it's a game that he loves and he has such good connections in this game, and he has a good reputation before all of this, obviously. So it's like clearly that's not a desired goal to have to leave Destiny all of a sudden. So like my first tweet is like, Bungie wrongfully banned me, this and that. You know, I need your help. Like I wouldn't be like chilling or vibing or doing anything. I would be like live streaming my PC, and I'd be like, guys, scan my files. I'll show you everything. Like because there is something to be said with situations like this, which is, there's the legal process, which in this case is just Bungie, but then there's the court of public opinion. And if you can't win the legal process, or like if Bungie's like, this is a closed matter, you did it, it's done, we're never unbanning you, you can, at least if you are truly innocent, you can fight for your innocence within the court of public opinion and be like, look, I can prove to the community and to the world that didn't, you know, investigate this, that I didn't do it, you know? And that's a huge W. If you can convince everyone that you are innocent, that's what you got to do. Like you got to go down that road.
Kind of force their hand with, you know, the community, right?
Yeah. Like you want to
convince them, then they're all just going to be like, you know, what's with the situation? Why haven't you said anything? And
yeah,
you know, eventually they have to do something.
Yeah, that's the key. And a lot of people have come to his defense and have said that, you know, EK is a great guy. I don't think he would do this. It doesn't seem like his character. You know, he's in the summit. He's like asking helpful questions. He's being, you know, he's that type of person. He's a nice guy. Like he's a nice guy like that. It's not even of his character to do some crazy leak shit like this, right? And I like all of that. Like that's like the court of public opinion fighting for you. Like you've got these big name content creators saying, I love EK. I love what he does for the community. I don't think he did it. You know, you got Glad, Azcross, all these people tweeting out for him, people that are his friends, people that know him. That's good. That's what you want. You know, you got to keep fighting that and keep like, take that as far as you can take it, because that's your only hope at getting this reversed in any sort of capacity, you know? And obviously being respectful to Bungie the whole way through, like never being disrespectful, but you gotta, that's how you do it. And if it were me, that would be like on Twitter, I would be live streaming. I would only be live streaming to show like I don't even know, like, because people were, then you had like the conspiracy theories come out, like Paul Tassi had this like conspiracy theory that like someone like hacked into his computer, and I'm like, what the heck? And his roommates did it maybe, and like I'm like, what the heck? Like, this is getting crazy. Like, this is getting out of hand quickly, you know? And so I guess like if I were him, if I could be, I was thinking of offering him advice, but it felt a little disingenuous because I don't like know him that, you know? So I didn't want to just be like, hey, I'll help you, man. When like we've never really like talked like that, like, you know, I know of him and he knows of me, but like we don't like talk like that. So I didn't want to like throw my advice out there. But if I could, I'd be like, dude, fight this as hard as you can and fight to prove your innocence in every way. Show your PC, show all your files. Maybe there's some fucking hacked files on there that's called like screen record .exe that someone was able to record your shit or something. Like, I don't even know. Contact that guy. Who's that? There's the hacker guy that actually revealed it. His name was like IC something. There was the guy who actually shared the screenshots in the video. I was like, this is the guy that could potentially exonerate you. Like, this is the guy that could potentially like, if that guy revealed his source, that leaker revealed who his real source was, and he said that he doesn't know EK, so that's already helpful. But if he actually like revealed who it was, then maybe they could get to the bottom of it, like how that guy got that video footage. Right. But that guy refuses to help. You know, he's like, he just says, I don't know.
He doesn't want to lose his source.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know EK. I don't know how that happened. That doesn't make, like, that wasn't, I don't have any association with him. And EK said that he doesn't know that hacker. Freezing Dart, I think is his name, right, or whatever. Right? And so it's tough, though, you know? It's tough. But I definitely would not, like, I would spend at least the first 2 weeks after a controversy like this doing nothing but trying to clear your name and trying to build a case for yourself. I don't even know if like you can hire a lawyer and stuff like this. Like,
I have no idea.
I don't even know if that's like a thing. Like Bungie owns the game. Like, you're not trying to like get in the legal process with Bungie per se, but you like, if you are genuine, like, I'm innocent, which is also the other scary part too, because if you're not innocent and you start making a big fuss, well, we know that Bungie has a legal team that takes serious action. And if you tried to make them look bad in this way and tried to say, okay, Bungie falsely banned me, you know, you could serve some serious legal ramifications, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's a tough one though. It's a tough one. It's a tough one.
God. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't.
The situation just doesn't make any sense.
It really doesn't. You know, it's the part that sucks is that if he's truly just like, he showed up to a summit, he was watching someone recorded, like, whatever happened, if he just woke up one day and was like, they're like, yeah, you're banned now, and he had no affiliation, nothing to do with it at all, that's crazy. But it's hard to believe that too, because that seems a bit far-fetched. I don't even know what the hackers are capable of this day and age, but
right.
Of them to record your screen without you aware of it while you're looking at your screen during the summit, I don't know if that's even possible. Like, is that possible? Like, maybe.
No idea.
I don't know what hackers are capable of. Like, I'm not a hacker. I barely know how to update my PC, you know? Like, I don't know. Like, I buy pre-built PCs. I'm a potato, you know? And
the only thing that I've heard from people that makes any sort of sense is that, like, he took the screenshots for himself to, like, look at or whatever, and then shared it with, like, friends, and then one of them leaked it.
Yeah.
Or something like that, right? But even then, it's still, like, it's just, why would you ever do that?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense either way.
Yeah, true. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't, like, even when I went to a summit, I wasn't, like, thinking in my head, like, oh, I want to share this info with my friends and stuff. Like, I don't know. I just went and enjoyed it and then came back, and then everyone always asks you a question on stream. They're like, oh, what'd you see? What'd you do? What'd you go? And you're just like, can't talk about it, you know? NDA.
Yeah.
And there's like, it's hard to even describe the stuff you see anyways. Like, imagine you got to play next season's seasonal activity, you know? Like, you know, you could describe some things of it. Like, we went in this and there was that and there was this, you know? But like, I don't know. Like, is it really that, like, is that really going to change your opinions on the next season? You know, you're like, oh,
right.
What? There was that? No way. Now I'm definitely like, no, like, you wouldn't, like, it's strange, you know?
I've also seen a lot of people saying that whoever leaked the stuff anyway is, like, doing Bungie's job for them because they don't do like any PR stuff for the seasons anymore.
Yeah.
And then like everyone's super excited for next season because we get Spare back, and then we get a different like Void Spare, and everyone's like hyped. Meanwhile, they don't say anything about the next season at all.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. Yeah, well, then well, and this is what I'm saying about like really fighting for your fighting for your innocence and fighting for the court of public appeal with this is like he says stuff like you can inspect my phone, right? You know, like I was saying with Bakken, like you should have someone inspect your PC like live, like, you know, as soon as that happens, be live and be like, look through my PC, look through everything, you know, look through, I have nothing to hide, you know, have nothing to hide and fight vehemently for your innocence. And he should have his phone inspected and stuff and be like, look, these are like, none of these photos exist. And like, there's none of them were deleted. Like even on iPhone, there's like if you delete something, it saves it for like 30 days or something, I think.
Yeah.
And so
I think that'd be like easy to do if you got someone that knew how to do that with a phone.
Yeah. Do that. Like do all of that, you know? And I know it's a bit excessive and you might feel like, dude, really? Like EK's got to go pay some computer nerd guy to, you know, scan his phone and all of that. And like, he's got to do all this stuff just because Bungie falsely accused him. It's like, yeah, I mean, yeah, you know, like getting falsely accused of something this big, like you got to go, this may not have been what you planned to do this week, you know, like get your phone scanned and all of that, but you got to go do it now. Like you got to go prove that stuff, you know, like this, there should be nothing more important in this situation than trying to clear your name, you know, and it's tough. And I personally, without getting into too much of my personal opinion, I want to believe he's innocent because I don't see the motive, but the evidence, like I'm more of an evidence guy in general. Like if someone has like evidence of something and then someone doesn't have any sort of counter evidence to like disprove that or to create a different narrative, then I'm like, you know, I gotta go with the evidence, you know, like I've watched 1,000,001 court cases and murder mysteries and all that or whatever. It's like the evidence wins, you know, you gotta have some evidence. So if he had something on his phone or if he had nothing on his phone and then something on his PC or something to show something in any way, it'd be nice. Plus the other part that's crazy about this is that if there is someone out there that set him up or did this to him, they have now literally like taken his career away or like severely diminished his career for the sake of what? For the sake of knowing fucking Spare Rations comes out next season? Like, right. Like if there is someone out there, I don't know how that person could sleep at night, you know?
Yeah, that's fucked up.
That's so messed up. If I was that person in some capacity or in any way, had any affiliation or connection, I would not be able to sleep at night knowing that you damaged someone's livelihood, someone's career, someone's reputation, someone's hard, like that's like his life's work, you know, is like his, you know, you did it so people could know a couple things about the new season. Like, damn, you know, like hopefully if there is that person out there that did set him up in some way, they come forward because that's like the only, like, I guess that's the only thing he could do besides trying to prove his own innocence is to like wait for that person to come forward. But if they don't come forward, which it doesn't seem like they will because enough time has passed, then yeah, a lot of the funny thing is that a lot of the leaks were just like mid anyways. Like they don't show you that much at the summit. Like they're not giving you everything that happens next season. They literally just talk about like vague stuff, you know, like it's not like specifics. Like they're not going to spoil the entire story for you in the summit, right? Like they want you to play the game still, like you're a content creator. So I hope he is. I hope, you know what I hope more than anything is just some progress one way or the other. I hope that Bungie does, because you know what Bungie did before with Bakken that they never did with anyone is they dunked on him. They said you're banned, but then he was like, no, I got falsely banned, and everyone does that. Like when they get banned, they say I got falsely banned, and they just get ignored. Mm-hmm. But they dunked on Bakken. They like DMG was like
actually we banned 6 of your accounts.
Yeah, like
for cheating,
which was wild, and a lot of people were like, whoa, like they dunked on him, and that's what we need in this situation. We need the second layer of like, actually this did happen this way. End of matter, you know, and then that way we can move on from it one way or the other. You know, Bungie can close the door one way or the other, because right now it's the community unrest for this is kind of scary. You know, everyone's tweeting out, you know, free EK everywhere, and a lot of people are tweeting in his support like, I believe him, and it's like it sucks because it's like you're creating this divide in the community where it's like you're either team Bungie or you're team Equagan, and it's like, damn, like, We don't want that. Like, we don't want this divisiveness in the community. We want everyone to get along, you know? We want to believe that Bungie did the right thing and did the right research, and that, you know, that he just messed up in some way and we can move on. But if not, then it's scary. It's scary. I don't like it. I don't like when there's so much divisiveness in the community, because gaming is meant to just bring us all together, you know? It's meant to bring us together, and we're supposed to enjoy this community together and these things together. And when we have this like extreme divisiveness like this, it's scary. It's scary to think about, because if Bungie just says nothing more, they said to Paul Tassi, they said the matter is closed. Like, we're not, like, we already did it. The matter is closed. They say nothing more. If, you know, he continues to proclaim his innocence and people continue to support him, it just like grows and festers and becomes this like weird thing, you know? And it's scary, you know? It's scary. I don't like it.
Yeah. Because if they don't come out and say anything other than like, you know, this is our decision, then it's like that whole community that supports EK and thinks he's innocent is just going to end up, you know, disliking Bungie, and that's going to give them bad press.
Yeah. And it's a tough spot for them to be, because they don't want to make it worse for him, you know? They don't want to make it worse for him.
Like, air the dirty laundry like, in the public, but
they did it with Bakken.
So involved, it's like you kind of have to.
But they literally did it with Bakken, you know. And I hate to bring up the Bakken reference so much, but I just like that was handled, I think, well by Bungie, even though I know it was very harsh for Bakken to go through, because he was like, whoa, he didn't expect them to come back with the response, you know. He was like, oh, I'll post this, a bunch of people will like it, and they'll just not say anything, you know, and then everyone will maybe be on my side or something. But he got the second response, you know. And people there's a lot of misinformation out there, so make sure you have your facts straight too. And I'm not the expert on all things with this controversy, but people are saying, you know, he deleted his VODs and stuff. I'm pretty sure that's due to music. As someone that streams and has music, you can have a feature that auto removes your VODs so you don't get community strikes. Literally, if you streamed like 3 times with copyrighted music, you could just get your channel deleted. So I think that's what happened with that, or at least that's the claim that's made. So I don't think that he's out there like deleting VODs or like hiding evidence, stuff like that. I don't think that's really the case with that. I know some people have speculated that and deleting clips and stuff like that, but I think the clips get deleted with the VODs because of the copyrighted music and stuff.
Yeah. It's not like there would have been anything like from the stream that would have been incriminating anyway.
Yeah, that's so.
It's not like he's showing these screenshots on stream.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh, it was him. Like,
yeah, exactly.
That didn't happen.
He's like showing the new dungeon on stream, like else's video and stuff, and like spare vendors and stuff, wherever, spare rations and all that. But it was just, if anything on stream, it was just his response to his community, you know. So it's not like we missed out on anything that interesting, anyways. So, but I do understand where the community comes from, where they become their own little mini detectives, and they're like, hey, you know, what was this? What was that? And they want to ask all these questions, you know. And I've thought to ask Ikugan, I thought to ask him, Equagan, I keep saying his name wrong. I thought to ask him, maybe do an interview with him, but at this point in time, it's like, you know, I don't know if there's anything new or revolutionary beyond, you know, Paul Tassi's article and what he said publicly. I may, though, if we get any more, you know, information or any new leads to anything that might have happened, especially in regards to the leaker side of things, because that's personally the side that I think we might actually see some progress, is if the sources for this actually want to come forward, you know, like that would actually be the play. Whoever would have done that, you'd think they would want to come forward, because they don't even, like Freezing Dart, for example, right? This guy who's found all this footage and stuff, like he bears no repercussions. He's got no like YouTube channel or community or anything like that. Like he doesn't lose anything by being like, yeah, it was me, you know, like they're in this sort of like dark realm of the Destiny community where like no repercussions affect them, even if they got banned, which I don't even know if they would, because there's probably no connection to.
Well, it wouldn't be them, right? It would be whatever their source was. Would then be banned.
Yeah, that would be the key.
Everyone realized it was them.
yeah, that would actually be the key. That would be nice if that came forward, that came to light. We never know. You never know how these things can develop. That's why I think it's good to not witch hunt, to not send any hate or harassment to anyone, to EK or to anyone that's involved in this, because I don't think that really helps. You know, the truth will come out with time, or it's going to continue being what it is now. And either way, it's going to be forever memorialized in the Destiny drama history books as one of the biggest events. It's easily one of the top 10 events of all times.
Yeah,
for sure. We came out of nowhere. We're going to leave it to a short Q&A now. If you have any questions or comments that we missed, we're going to sound off with all of these. So go ahead. Let's see them. If you got any questions or comments or ideas that we missed, any information in regards to anything, in regards to the Tuesday reset, raid challenge, TWAB, the Zim and Cronus debate, trials, Zur, the NDA drama, all of that. Yep. 6K down the drain. Why is Dwayne on fire? It's actually a sensitive topic. He actually has a hemorrhoid issue. What was exactly leaked? Well, I can't talk about the exact leaks, but I'll just show them and bring them up on stream right here. Okay, here you go. Like, just watch. Yeah, just watch them all together. Now that everyone knows, fine. We'll just watch the VOD together. But I can't talk about them because they're leaks for a reason. So if you want to find them, you'd probably have to do some Google searching or something. But I can't do that. It was season 21 stuff. It was stuff in season 21. That's about the most I can say, I think, without causing too much heat. What is a Dwayne on fire? Okay, now the chat is just trolling. EK drama reminds me of the Say No. Yeah. That's a whole nother topic. We won't even go into any of that right now. But is it true that we will be able to craft the adept weapons? Which ones? That's a different topic as well. So we're going to pass on that and probably just wrap up this podcast then. I don't think there's any relevant questions to the podcast. So we'll get back to the live stream. Make sure to subscribe and follow wherever you find this podcast. We'll be doing this once a week, every week from now until Destiny is a dead game. So see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Later.